Test 1, 2, 3. Alright, everyone, welcome back again. It's early morning now. I don't know when you're watching, but it's when I'm recording. We're gonna do a quite special reading today. We're gonna take a look at your enemies, who they are, why you're enemies, and if you can make peace. I think it can be very important. There's a lot of conflict going on in the grand scheme of the world, and also behind the scenes in everyday life. Maybe you resonate with that, maybe not. Either way, that's what we're going to take a look at. So I'm going to get 3 piles. Let's get 3 piles for the viewers and me reading. We have a 4th. We'll leave that beneath. We'll put you here, here. Maybe we get signifier cards as well. Let's get 1 for each pile. 4 of jellies for pile 1. The Knight of Swords, pile 2. And the 8 of jellies. So, as normal, if this is the first time you're watching, you pick a pile by using your intuition, senses, feelings. One of the piles should speak to draw you in. If several do, try and find one that speaks the most and then watch the other after. That just means that there could be a message for you in several piles. But first and more foremost, find one that draws you in, right? That you can feel you want to pick. We have this crystal here for pile number 1. This obsidian heart for pile number 2. This leaf here, pile number 3. Once again, this is the 4 of jellies for pile number 1. The Knight of Swords for pile number 2. And the 8 of jellies for pile number 3. I'll see you in your deck. And we're gonna find first a little bit about your enemies. Who are they? Who are your enemies? Coming out. Engagement photos. Work besties. Sunday scaries. Off the grid. Grown as man. And eco-friendly. And so, who are your enemies? They seem to be someone who are not very strict in their nerves, right? They don't tighten their nerves. they're kind of flowing, open flowing. They might believe in equality, climate change, environmental law, that kind of stuff. They believe in making the world a better place. These are your enemies, or enemy singular. They are someone who finds joy and thinks joy is good, life is good, and equality is good. With Sunday Scaries, they're also someone who struggles with anxiety. They have a lot of anxious and fear, maybe. They're worried about the future, and they're worried about, definitely the future. They're scared of the future, possibly because of climate change. And also you have anti-wokeism, anti-activism, right? Those who works against equality and let's also say like equality of prosperity, right? The idea that everyone should have a right to food, water, shelter, a good life. Those who works against these sort of things causes this person fear and anxiety for the future, not to mention because of climate change. Of the 𝓟𝓮𝓻𝓼𝓸𝓷𝓪𝓵, your enemy is someone who likes to take care of himself or herself, or if you have several, it's a group that associates with the idea of self-caretaking, right? You're responsible for your own life, your own health, and your own well-being. These are your enemies. Pile number 1. Now, we're gonna take a look at why they are your enemies. And I think I'm gonna use the same deck. Why are you enemies? Sorry, not sorry. Ick. On edge. Frenemies. Vision board. Boozy brunch. And inner work. Why are you enemies? It seems because this person, people, or group is unapologetically following their beliefs and their intuition. We talked about what they stand for and what they believe in, and they do so unapologetically. They don't feel like they should apologize for believing in equality, environmental law, joy, fairness. They think it's right, and they should not apologize for it. You have the ick, style of feels, frenemies. The reason you are enemies is because why? Let me get some clearance here. Ace of Chalice, King of Wands, Knave of Pentacles, Justice. There's these people who are your enemies, whoever they are used to facing a lot of unfairness, and they see a lot of unfairness, they know a lot of unfair treatment and bad things in the world. They know about deception, people who appear to be good who only do evil, all that sort of stuff, right? And so to them it is completely unreal that they should be apologizing for believing in what they deem a better world, right? Equality and environmental change and that kind of stuff. Because they see so much mistreatment and unfairness that to them it's impossible to perceive why it should be apologized for to stand for these things, right? You have On Edge, Pussy Brunch, Vision Board, and Inner Work. And this is not why you are enemies. It's all about joy, right? Finding joy for this person, people, or group. It's about enjoying life, enjoying now, doing what is right in the moment. Which also gives to this unapologetic vibe here, right? It's about living life to the fullest when you can. And with Vision Board, I see like psychic abilities, seeing the future, envisioning, if I do this, then I can go here. Maybe even seeing several timelines, knowing which to go to cause the best outcome. And with Inner Work, you know, your enemy doesn't feel like, you know, things are that easy, right? But you maybe do. Maybe you see these things, this seeking of joy, enjoying of life, and these things that your enemy is standing for to be symbols of weakness. But your enemy, it feels like they're being shot every day for that, which only fuels their unapologetic fire, right? They're being attacked physically, mentally, spiritually for what they believe in, which only fuels their fire. Can you make peace though? Can you make peace? Seven of Chalice, Five of Wands, the Devil, King of Chalice, Knave of Chalice, High Priestess, and Two of Chalice. I know these cards are a little small, so maybe it's hard to see, but the message will come through my vessel, my body here. Can you make peace? I think yes, you can, by accepting two different roles, right? If you accept your beliefs, your views, and leave your enemy to his, her, or his group's views, you can make peace by being two separate entities, right? You are your group, or whoever you are, you have your beliefs, your perception. Your enemies, whether it's a group, person, individual, or several, have their views and beliefs, and you separate. You don't need to merge, right? You don't have to. And that's how you make peace, by staying separated in a fundamental philosophical and ideological way. Which doesn't mean you can't engage in real life, but you separate as two distinct entities. So if you are trying to form a group here, it's clear that that is what is causing the hostilities, right? If you were trying to merge you and them, that is not going to go because of your different values. All right, pile number 1. Thank you. All right, pile 2. Oh, welcome to your video. We're gonna first take a look at who your enemies are. Let's find something about them. Who are your enemies? Squad goals. Swipe right. Tinderist. That's Queen. Dumpster fire. Free giveaway. Big D energy. And quarter life crisis. And first time homeowner. So your enemy or enemies are someone who enjoys friends, who loves being social. Maybe they're even very good at social behavior, like socialize, know what to say, how to look. And there is someone who's very confident in their skills, whatever their skills are, very confident. They know what they're doing, they know how to do it. There's no way of making this person doubt their skills, right? Very confident. Swipe right and the Tinderist squad goals. So this person is someone who's very good with women, I think. In addition to being great at socializing, this individual or your enemies in plural are very good with women. They know what to say to, how to speak to, how to persuade. Maybe they even have very good looks, right? And they are filled with knowledge about women. The Etsy Queen. Your enemy is someone who is especially creative, able to craft quite a lot, and able to take in new challenges quite easily. Which means they love to craft, and new things that come along, they can easily, start to create with that material. Meaning, say if you were a painter and someone came along and said, well, you can paint, but can you sing? And then, within the first 2 weeks after that, the person has started to sing, right? This is your enemy here. Dumpster fire, free giveaway. Your enemy is someone who you perceive to have a lot of money, at the very least, right? And you perceive them to get things for free. you're someone who spends a lot and who receives gifts through your perception. But with dumpster fire here as well, I feel like it's an illusion. See here, dumpster fire, free giveaway. It's an illusion. Your enemy is someone you perceive to have a lot of money. I also get a lot for free, but it's really an illusion because with the dumpster fire here and the tower, it's a constant hassle, constant work. You just don't see the work being put in behind the money that is spent, right? And the things that come in. First time homeowner, someone who is searching for a place to call home, someone who has a goal of finding a more permanent residence where one can rest and live. Ideally, for the rest of your life or for a big chunk of it, right? A home that you own. Quarter life crisis is right next to big D energy, and I think this speaks of someone who, like we talked about, is incredibly confident in their skills and who doesn't listen to negative connotations about the way you should live. Ageism, you can look up the term, right? The idea that when you are a certain age, you should be this and this and that. When you're 20, you should do this. When you're 30, you should do this. When you're 40, you should do this. When you're 50, you should do this. Your enemy here is so confident in their own beliefs and skill set that they disregard this completely, right? They believe that where they are is where they should be, and that they never can do wrong, because this belief of what you should be like, where does that even come from, and how can I even amount to that? It's not like I haven't tried, but it's not something I actually can do, and so why should it be the correct way to live when it's not something that is possible for me to do at this moment, right? That is your enemy. So let's take a look at why you are enemies then. Well, number 2. Hustle culture. 7 of swag. Page of thought. Teletherapist. Thirst trap. New gig. Personal trainer. Throwback. An independent woman. So why are you enemies? A lot of it has to do with online culture. Maybe you are someone who goes a lot online, read comments, maybe you chat a lot, and even with chat bots, or even you have a therapist online. And these beliefs here that come through the media and through psychiatry are not something that resonates with your enemies, right? Doesn't mean they don't resonate with the entire field, but these information sources that you have in your life are opposed to the beliefs of your enemies. Which means if you read a lot of media or listen a lot to specific radio channels, maybe you have a specific YouTube channel you watch a lot, and their beliefs and information that comes through there and into your life is not what resonates with your enemy. Could also be, I sense very strongly for a lot of you, a therapist or someone who is a guidance counselor coming through online service, more likely a face call or something like that, who is giving you ideas and these ideas that you're getting through this person is not resonating with your enemy, which is the reason why you're enemies, which is what we're discussing right now. We have thirst trap, 7 of Fields. I'm sensing, temptation, lust, right? Thirst trap. And let's go with that metaphor, right? You want chocolate. It's very good. Lots of sugar. Very addictive. And if you fall for it, you'll start eating it a lot and you'll gain weight. You'll get tired. And it won't benefit you. If you're able to take one bite, that can be healthy, but there's still a lot of sugar, right? And so I'm hearing like resist temptation, which can be very like Christian connotated, right? But staying away from temptation, from, you want it, but is it really good for you, right? And so chocolate can be the metaphor for a lot of things. And so I think your enemy here is judging you, right? You aren't able to resist what you want, even though you know it's not good for you. And your enemy is judging you for that. New gig, personal trainer, throwback. I think this speaks of a mixture of several things. There's a lot of joy here. And I see alcohol, beverages, and working out. And I think it speaks of a scenario in the past, which maybe you shared, where, and you can take it however it resonates with you, where joy and fitness went together, right? You were maybe at a party, and then the next day you both woke up and you went to the gym, still slightly boosted, right? And then later you went back to the club, and then the next day back to the gym again. And there's like this sense of flow between duty and play, right? And however that resonates with your situation, it doesn't have to be booze, it doesn't have to be the gym. But what is important is this flow here of duty and play that seems very joyful to both you and your enemy. And it seems like this was somewhere in the past. And this, it gets like this eternal symbol, right? And this joy here is somehow causing you to be enemies. Let's get some clearance on why that is. 10 of Chalice, the Hangman, 2 of Wands, 4 of Pentacles, 3 of Chalice, Queen of Swords, 6 of Wands, 4 of Wands. It's because one of you thought there's a disconnect here. Either you or your enemy has been too preoccupied with themselves, not realizing that you were both in the same position and both in the same place, right? With this flow here of duty and joy. One of you thought you were the only one in that situation, disregarding the other's position in the same place. And this has caused you to become hostile towards each other, because you both were in this flow, but one of you decided or somehow believed that you were the only one in that space. And with the Queen of Thoughts, an independent woman, your enemies, because of ideals. I think your enemy is someone who is dependent on others, whereas you maybe might be used to being in a group where you lean on each other. Your enemy is someone who is used to standing up for oneself with no one to back them up. And they're used to fighting for what they believe in, all by their lonesome, which causes the independent woman here. Your enemy or enemies are someone who's used to doing it on their own. They're not used to having someone to lean on. This is causing you to be enemies. But can you make peace? That's the most important question of the reading. Can you make peace? The Chariot, Ten of Wands, King of Swords, Strength, the Lover, Tower, Moon, the Magician, and Ace of Swords. It seems, through strength and discipline, if you are to make peace with your enemy, you need to be firm, but also open-minded, right? It's these cards here, they speak of conquest, strength, but also beauty, magic. You need to be firm, strong, and open-minded, because you need to be able to see the beauty of life, right? So don't let go of your strength, but be open-minded as well, so that the beauty of life can come into your mind. Then you can make peace with your enemy. All right, pile number 2. Thank you very much. Hello, pile number 3. Welcome to your reading. We're looking into your enemies. Let's find out who they are first and foremost. Who are your enemies? Microdose, unemployed, protest organizer, furlough, can't even, stay at home dad, who run the world, Bitcoin investment, soul cyclist, the patriarchy, which is also the emperor, and the tarot. These are tarot cards too, but the classic tarot. So who are your enemies then? Pile number 3. Your enemies is someone who is very joyful. They love life and they love joy, right? They love the universe, the stars, and especially this, it's almost a religion. It's this belief of the universe as a whole, where everything goes together. One thing moves on the other side of the universe, which eventually leads you to pick your nose, right? It's fate, you can call it, with a T. And you can also find similar theories in science and philosophy. And I'm sensing this person has a very spiritual belief in the wholeness of the universe and loves that, and finds a lot of joy in expressing that love. But your enemy is also someone who sees unfairness, right? Mistreatment, evil, and someone who won't let that be, right? Have you heard, like, it's a quote, I don't remember it exactly, but it's like, it's almost as evil to let evil be, right? I think it's in Norwegian, but it's something like, if you don't do something about the evil you see in the world, you're almost as bad yourself. And this person or individuals that are your enemies really resonate with that. And they see a lot of unfairness in the world and they won't let it be. They will do what they can to fix it, to help the world fix it, right? Furlough speaks of having the need for income, but there's not enough work. And I think, especially if this is an artist of sort, or someone working in entertainment, like an actor, right, who seeks work, but there's not enough jobs, for this person's skill sets. There's not enough pay in this person's field. This person is someone who struggles with having the skills and the means, but not the money, and there aren't that many jobs, right? Furlough. Can't even stay at home dad who run the world. This is someone who is looking to form a family. Someone who wants to be a father. Could also be someone who wants to be a mother. And someone who's very unafraid of women's place in the world. They are not scared of talking to female leaders. They're not scared of female teachers. They're not scared of women gaining power. They might not necessarily be in the space of feminist movements, but they're not afraid, right? They're not afraid of women's movements. They're not afraid of women's liberation, right? Women's achievements. And they want to shape a family, which means your enemy is someone who can't relate too much to the drama, right? Maybe you have some drama with the person, or maybe you are someone who likes drama, arguments, fighting, quarrels, but your enemy can't deal with that because to them what is important is to try and shape a family. Find a spouse, make a child, bring a loving home, and feed more love into the world, right? With Wheel of Fortune and Bitcoin investment, your enemy is not afraid to take chances either. They're in this space, they see unfairness, and they're in furlough. And so they're not afraid to take chances to try and get out of that, to try and gain more power, more wealth, and by doing so, being more able to do what is needed to do to stop the unfairness they see in the world. But then, power number 3, why are you enemies? Insta famous, the millennial, the fuckboy, acting shady, girls trip, work-life balance, Instagram jewelry, force, burnout. Why are we enemies? First and foremost, there's a generational gap at least for most of you, you might be the older and this might be the younger, right? And your enemy is someone of a different generation who has grown up after the feminist movement of the 70s, right? Long after, maybe not too long, but long enough for it to not be something they're occupied with. It might also have, if there's no generational gap here, to do with technology, right? Maybe you are someone who is a little more reluctant to technology. Maybe you are more like nature oriented. You like to be in the woods. You like minimalistic lifestyle. Whereas your enemy here is someone who loves technology and the things you can do with technology and the development of technology. They're not afraid to embrace every new invention that is released for the public. Spacecrafts, smartphones, even technologies that improve power, wealth, and benefits for all in life. Public transportation, motorcycles, music, techno music, computer art, photo editing tools, even the photograph itself is technology. The fact that I can film this is through technological advancements of the human race. Girls trip, work-life balance, acting shady, Instagram group, fuckboy, blessed, burnout. The reason you are enemies is because we talked about your enemy being in furlough, and your enemy is working day and night to get out of their situation, to get more wealth and power for themselves, their ideals of family, and to deal with the unfairness they see in the world. They feel like they can help, right, if they get out of their situation and gain more wealth and power. And they're working day and night. But why does that mean you're enemies? Don't quite get it. I'm gonna need some clearance on that. Mother's intuition, gaslighting, social justice warrior, literally obsessed, lockdown, binge watching. It's because you believe this person is lazy, laying around, watching TV, locking themselves up, complaining about things, right? You see them as someone who is kind of naggy, lazy, and doesn't really care, and just wants something from you. When in reality, your enemy is constantly fighting to get where they are, and at least for your enemy, the unfairness and mistreatment they see in the world is something they experience. Maybe you don't experience it, maybe you haven't seen it, maybe you don't want to see it, but your enemy does. And so the reason you're enemies is because you view them this way, when in reality they're working constantly to get out of their situation. You just see them as lazy because they're not getting out of it. They don't find their way out, and you think they're lazy because of that. So can you make peace? That is the most important question. Can you make peace? Five of Wands, the High Priestess, the Devil, Four of Chalice, Six of Swords, Queen of Chalice, Eight of Pentacles, the Fool, Knight of Wands. Knowledge is power. We heard that quote, knowledge is power. You can make peace through acquiring knowledge. If you want to make peace with your enemies, knowledge is the way. Maybe you want to start studying. As of today, in Norway at least, there's no higher age limit. There's a lower age limit because you gotta pass obligatory school, high school and stuff. Depending on your study, there's different qualifications you need. But there's no higher age limit. You can start studying at 80 if you want. So maybe you want to start a study at the university level, college. Or if you don't want to do that, you can go to a library, start reading some books. And you want to find sources that are based on research, and you want to take your time and you want to look closely and read slowly. Because you want to learn, you want to gather knowledge. You can also go online, but also make sure you find sources that are valid, right? To gain this knowledge, you can't just read the newspaper, right? You need to learn research, read academic research. And you can also go online and read academic research of a lot of different topics. And I sense some of the topics are not academically inclined, but you can still find valid sources, both at the library and online. But you gotta make sure and be strict with yourself, because you know when you're reading things that aren't legit or proven or just noise. You know when you are. And it's not like the media isn't a valid source of certain general information, but it's not specialized and it's more commercial. Whereas research, academic research, is less so, right? It's often based on funding, but it's not based on income, right? Whereas the media is based on income. All right, file number 3. All right, everyone. This is the outro. That was your readings. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a little worried about the camera because I'm struggling with battery and stuff. Gotta look into that, try and fix it, ordered some new stuff. Let me know if you liked the reading, and as a last advice for all of the piles, really take in the make peace message. Try and make peace. We don't want more conflict. There's too much already, right? Try and make peace. Take those